Commissioner Acting, Mr. Hicken, Mr. Ramdani, who is a consultant, the lead consultant to this project with the support of the IDB, Ms. Joseph, the police legal advisor, the representatives of the IDB, and also the others from the Ministry of Legal Affairs who are here. And let me recognize Ms. Daniels, the court superintendent, as we engage, in spite of our recent setbacks on the question of the criminal justice system, the support to it, and the advances we have to make in Guyana in respect of the overall encompassing criminal justice system and the challenges it poses to us. And of course, recognizing that we have to get international support from the IDB, which has been wide-ranging in respect of specifically the criminal justice system on this engagement, but also recognizing the support through the Citizen Security Strengthening Program, which involves the Ministry of Home Affairs. I could not stand here without identifying, in spite of the help providing by Minister Nandlal through the IDB, the fact that the greatest singular blow against the criminal justice system just occurred in the loss of the Brigdam police station. And I know that we had visited, a large number of computers were there, and supporting systems for us to have a significant advancement in the way we handle records, the way we respond to issues, the way we are able to discern what is happening in respect of persons who come before the courts. As Deputy Commissioner Hicken just said, the first contact is with the police and through the recording of the police to the courts. And so the police prosecutor's office, the information they get from the CID department, all that has been lost, a tremendous loss, and it represents a significant challenge. We have to go to the cabinet just so and identify hundreds of millions of dollars for capital, current, and even the personal loss of police persons and others as a result of this fire. The overall question of criminal justice relates to, in perhaps a large encompassing sense, to the environment in which we operate as a people, as a country, in politics, economy. How do we understand ourselves, what environment we function in, and how do we rise to the challenges posed by the environment? I would be the first to say that if you have an environment overarching and perhaps in relation to political resorts, notions, and issues which suggest that general pervasive lawlessness is what we have to accept in the discourse and the actions at the level of some sections of society, criminalized, politically criminalized, however you want to term it, that if people stand up and put on the new media, which is much faster than the spit press we are accustomed to, that Georgetown will burn if what and what doesn't happen, that perhaps the notions, the negative notions and perceptions which are fed out there to suggest that the road to political power and engagement is through violence and destruction, poses us the larger challenge of interpreting and understanding where we are and where we want to be. And that while it might appear that certain acts of arson which we're being faced with, schools, police buildings, the police station, while we might not see a direct connection between those imprecations of certain people and certain acts which are unfolding and happening on the ground, perhaps even as we speak, that the suggestiveness of those things which are said, the suggestiveness creates the type of environment for perhaps the negative reflexivity in the actions which people take. We've had a history, unfortunate, of fires in institutional buildings related to the Ministry of Home Affairs. We had the terrible loss of life on fire at the Camp Street prison. 17 or more persons died, prisoners. And if they die under the custody of the state has a problem and a responsibility in respect of it. And similarly too, if we get a fire, or we've had the fire at Benn, it speaks to our individual and personal responsibility in respect to, if we want to protect our heritage, if we want to protect our society, our economy, if we want to avoid moving 2 or 5 steps backward and then can only move another step forward, there will be no progress and advancement in our society. And we'll destroy our comity as a people. So I wanted to say those things at the beginning, that we have to be aware and to reject certain assertions, some of which I heard in the street while the fire was raging, being made, some quite negative and disturbing, and others uplifting and regretful about what was happening. So there was a dichotomy of views. And so between these two views, we have to, as actors, as responsible persons in the question of the criminal justice system, have to be able to choose. And we have to be able, even while we work, when there are things occurring and going on amongst us, or that we see that are happening, we should be able to forthrightly reject those things if we want to survive as a people and as a country. If we don't continue perhaps in an attitude of not doing the right thing or saying the right thing to avoid the path of self-destruction. So, Minister Nandlal, I want to apologize for the unfortunate happenstance, and I want to apologize too to the police persons resident at Benn police station. I saw Ms. Daniels and many others who I don't recognize now, who are very traumatized, fearful, and not wondering and thinking perhaps what next or how do we carry on. So the very fact that we have identified that we will rebuild and restore, and the fact that we're meeting today says that this is what we will do. We will rebuild, restore, and build better. And much of the building better has to come from within ourselves as individuals, as personalities, and for the police in the police system, doing your job as a professional police person. That's the most important thing. Separate the personal from the professional. And to the extent where it's personal, it has to be in advancement of what is professional. That's what we want. You're not asking for anything more. So, the discussion today relates to a new overall paradigm in how we move forward in respect of the criminal justice system from the point of view of the state, from the agencies of the state, the overall question of pretrial detention, custodial measures, and non-custodial alternatives workshop. I would be the first amongst people to say that sometimes when the police puts hands eventually on somebody who may be viewed as a first-time offender, that this is not necessarily the case in our situation. That many times when we think somebody appears for the first time before the courts, it might have been the result of a series of negative experiences in relation to their behavior in the communities, their behavior at home. So perhaps I want to signal that warning in respect to the question of pretrial detention, non-custodial measures. And we know in some cases, particularly of young offenders, that the community, the village, the parent would have already abandoned the child and allowed his discretions, which would have been replete rather, to go to the point of arrest, detention.